All right, I get it. You guys want to buy your next camera, but before you do, I want to break down 10 things that you should consider before you make that expensive purchase. Stay tuned. All right, number one, may seem obvious, but what are you buying the camera for? I know, when we buy a camera as filmmakers, we usually buy it for a specific project. And this is the reason why we throw thousands and thousands of dollars on a camera. But what if I told you that this reason alone is not a strong enough reason why you should invest in a camera? Sure, if you've got the money, hell, you know what? If you've got the money, I have a beautiful camera that I have in mind that you can take a look at. It's called the Red V Raptor. Definitely take a look at it. It is beautiful. Shoots 8K, stunning, insane camera. If you've got 25K to throw, get the V Raptor. But I'm sensing most of us doesn't have 25K to throw on a camera, right? So if you're on a budget, I highly encourage you to really dial in that reason why you purchased the camera to ensure that the usage of the equipment extends far beyond the lifespan of that one project. Are there other projects you plan on shooting after this one is completed? Because here's the thing, if it's a short film or a feature film, eventually you'll wrap production and then you'll have a camera collecting dust until your next project, which might not be for another couple of months and or years. But if you have paying clients on the horizon and you're very good at client outreach, then certainly purchase the camera. So the idea here is you really want to maximize the usage of your investment and position yourself so that you can begin to recoup the camera's value. Which brings me to number two, recouping the camera's value. Figure out how you're going to recoup the value of the investment. So the idea here is to figure out how you're going to get the camera to pay for itself. Okay, so I get it. You might not be able to recoup the value from this passion project alone, which is the reason why you bought the camera to begin with. But certainly put an action plan together on how you can get that camera to make you money. Are you going to be renting the camera out to other filmmakers for a fee? Do you have commercial clients lined up? Do you have any clients that need any music videos done, etc.? Number three, set some money aside for insurance. So this ensures that when you purchase the camera, if anything happens, if it's stolen, if it's broken, if it's busted, whatever, you get the money back in case anything happens. So odds are, if you're like me, you didn't factor into account how much money it would cost to insure the cost of your equipment. In case anything happens to your camera, please make sure you can get the money back in case your camera breaks or in case it's stolen. Now this is something that we never really take into consideration, but a couple of years ago, $15,000 worth of my camera equipment was stolen. According to police reports, kids on bikes smashed into my car window and stole everything in my car. I was only gone for about 20 minutes, but as soon as I get back, everything in my car was gone. I felt like my life was completely shattered. So please, just set some money aside to cover the cost of your equipment. Now this can come in the form of a personal articles policy or a business policy, but just make sure that if anything goes wrong, you're on the phone with those insurance folks. You say, if this happened, then that happened, if that's happened, then this happened, if that happened, then this happened. Walk them through and make sure that in case anything goes wrong, you get the money back for your equipment. Number four, assess the resale value and the long-term usage. Is it future-proof? Does your camera retain its value years after it was purchased? Let's take Red cameras, for instance, right? Now, these cameras are known to hold and retain the original value that the camera was originally purchased for years. Let's take the cheapest Red available right now, the Red Komodo, for instance. Now, this camera came out back in 2020 at a price of $6K. How much money does the Red Komodo cost today, Alan? Well, it's still about $6K. It's been 2 years and the original purchase price of the product has not decreased at all. On the other hand, let's take the Panasonic S1H. This camera was also released in 2020. Now at that time, the S1H was $4,000, $4K. But 2 years later, the price dropped to $3.5K. Is the camera micro four thirds, super 35, or is it full frame? Typically micro four thirds camera options doesn't retain their value as well as their 35mm or full frame counterparts. Is the camera future proof? Of course, it shoots 4K, but does it shoot 6K? How about 8K? Number 5, cost of camera lenses and other accessories. So this is just something to keep in mind in case you're going with a micro four thirds camera option like the Panasonic GH5 or the Panasonic GH6. So with these cameras, you're going to be dealing with micro four thirds lenses, which is by and large a lot cheaper than full frame camera lenses. So definitely take this into account as well and add this to your overall budget. Do you have all the stabilizers you want for the shoot? Do you have all of the extra batteries you need for the shoot? Trust me, you'll need them. Any microphones or professional audio mixer to capture that beautiful sound, XLR cables and filters and so on. So I definitely highly recommend writing a list of everything you'll need in order to successfully shoot that project, as well as its price, of course. Because I don't know if you guys can relate, but definitely for me, price was always an afterthought. I just wanted the gear, and the price just I didn't really care much about the price. It just, the price is the price. Because if price is an afterthought, you might be stuck with an old Chase credit card statement balance racking up mountains more debt at an interest rate of 24.5%. Maybe that's just me. Number 6, high resolution settings. Now I know this is probably one of the first things that you did before you even purchased the camera, but so in addition to knowing if the camera captures 6K or 8K video, you really want to take a look at other projects, other films, other commercials, other music videos that was filmed with the camera you're thinking about purchasing, with all of the bells and whistles you plan on getting as well. So the camera isn't enough, right? What other things did they have on that shoot in addition to the camera that really made that footage look beautiful? So yeah, you saw this beautiful commercial shot with the red Komodo, but oftentimes new filmmakers miss the fact that they added a speed booster, giving the camera an additional stop of dynamic range, and also made the camera look more like a full frame camera option. Number 7, dynamic range. So cameras with a respectable amount of dynamic range typically have a flat image profile you're able to shoot on, and this gives your colorist and post a bit more creativity and flexibility and freedom with respect to the color tones and hues in your image. So Panasonic has V-Log, for instance. Sony has S-Log, for instance. Red has Red Code RAW, which is notorious, of course, for being one of the best flat image color profiles that you can ever shoot on. They advertise giving the filmmaker limitless color possibilities with little to no loss of image quality. How many stops of dynamic range does your camera have? The Red Komodo has over 16 stops of dynamic range versus the Sony FX6, which has a bit over 15 stops of dynamic range. Or did you want to go with the Panasonic S1H or the BS1H that will give you over 14 stops of dynamic range? Is the increase in these dynamic ranges worth the price hike? So take note of these factors and see how the beautiful images these cameras produce can help you make your decision. Number 8, Netflix approval. So we all know Netflix goes through this intense camera process that they run these cameras through the paces, and they basically test the cameras to see how well the camera holds up under stress, under tension, see how beautiful the images look on screen, and see if it actually is worthy of being on their streaming platform, Netflix. So is the camera Netflix approved? If you desire to sell your project to Netflix one day and you just wanted Netflix's stamp of approval for your camera as a baseline, be sure to look at their website, as updates to this list is done pretty frequently. Now currently the cheapest camera on this list is the Panasonic BGH1. This is a micro four thirds camera option that is Netflix approved. If you wanted the full frame version equivalent of this camera, that's the Panasonic BS1H. Now I'll put a couple of links in the description below if you'd like to check both of these cameras out. Number 9. Is this something that your potential client is comfortable with utilizing? Okay, so this might seem a little bit vain, but it's actually really important. So clients like to see that your camera setup is something that appears to be something that they cannot accomplish by themselves. It needs to look complex enough so that clients hire you a second time. Trust me, if you show up to a client's shoot with nothing more than a DSLR, they're gonna give you some looks, followed by how much that DSLR costs, because yeah, they're thinking about replacing you behind on the next shoot. And they'll quickly figure out how they can replace you at a fraction of the price they paid you for the job. So no matter what camera you choose, be sure to rig that camera out to make it appear as if it's something that your client could not accomplish by themselves. Trust me, I know it's vain, I know it's weird, you may not need all the things on the rig, but if you are in front of clients, super important. Number 10, frame rate requirements for the project. So pretty much all DSLRs and DSLMs shoot at 24 frames per second or 30 frames per second. But what additional frame rates will you need for the camera to achieve the look you're going for on your project? Do you need to shoot slow motion? If so, the minimum FPS or frames per second for slow motion is about 60 frames per second or 60 FPS. Now anything greater than that will give you the flexibility to slow down things in post even further. So definitely check out different films and projects that are shot at the frame rate that you desire to shoot your projects at, just so you can see what it looks like, to see if it will actually suit your project's desires. Now in your quest to find that dream camera of yours, you may be wondering, what options are there to choose from? Don't worry, I got you. So here's a video right here that gives you a comprehensive list of new camera options you could explore to shoot your next group of projects on. If you haven't taken a look at my film, it is on Amazon Prime, Tubi TV, Zumo, and Plex. It's called The Brotherhood. Take a look. And if you're interested in creating compelling cinema while building a sustainable future, please definitely schedule a call with me below. I'll put a link in the description. And it's always a pleasure talking to you guys. Until next time, see ya. So definitely check out various films and projects that are shot